Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Today the world watches as justice collides with power. Bangladesh, a nation on fire, a capital shaking with fury, a prime minister exposed for brutality, Sheikh Hasina. Today's discussion, number 1, her death sentence. The courtroom erupted, the nation reacted. Number 2, the Gen Z uprising. Students revolted against job quotas and political oppression. Thirdly, we will discuss her orders. Helicopter attacks, lethal crackdowns, state force unleashed on her own people. Fourthly, India's role, why she fled, political protection, and what her extradition means. Fifthly, we will discuss the law, the loopholes, and the regional reactions, including Pakistan's Defense Minister Khwaja Asif's explosive statement. Further, we will discuss the historical perspective, rulers sentenced to death across the world, and what history teaches us about power, politics, and justice. This is not just news. This is power, betrayal, justice, and fury all unfolding right now. So let's dive in. Segment 1. Death sentence announcement. Well, Bangladesh has just shaken the world. Sheikh Hasina, the former prime minister, has been sentenced to death for crimes against humanity. The courtroom erupted. Dhaka itself is on edge. The charges? Helicopter attacks on students, lethal orders against protesters, political oppression executed with blood and fire. Well, this is not politics as usual. This is a regime exposed for brutality, a leader held accountable, and history rewriting itself before our eyes. Have a look at this clip.
We have decided to inflict her with only one sentence, that is sentence of death.
Segment 2, Gen Z job quota issue and how it all started. So the question arises, how did it reach this point? It began on university campuses. Gen Z students were furious that the government jobs were handed out based on ancestry and not merit. A 30% quota meant the right families got the top jobs. Thousands of graduates, they had no chance. Students marched, they protested, and the government's inaction fueled a wildfire. The July Revolution was born, a nationwide uprising of young Bangladeshis who refused to be silenced. Segment 3, what orders she gave. So when the students rose, Hasina unleashed the state. Helicopters trafficked campuses, security forces fired live ammunition, orders for brutal crackdowns came straight from her desk. Well, evidence? Phone calls, command logs, leaked audio, all proving direct authorization for violence. More than 1,400 lives were lost, most to state gunfire. And she did it all to protect her power, not the people. Segment 4. Interviews with Al Jazeera, March 2023. Let's rewind. The then United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet, took action. Have a look at this clip.
The then United Nations High Commissioner, Michelle Bachelet for Human Rights, she came to Bangladesh and she expressed her concern about allegations of forced disappearances, extrajudicial killings, torture, and a lack of accountability for such violations. And she called for an independent investigation. Have you held an investigation into this?
Listen, yes, of course. Any incident happen, immediately we take action and we bring them to book. And
her justification? Listen to this clip.
If we indulge in this violation of human rights and all these things, then how could we make all this progress?
In reply to those doing all this, she said,
those who are talking about all these things, who are they? You have to find them out. They don't want that this country should get a stable progress.
Segment 5. Hasina's stance, her denial. But Hasina refuses to accept any responsibility in a state after the verdict She said, "I was given no fair chance to defend myself in court. The verdicts announced against me were made by a rigged tribunal established and presided over by an unelected government with no democratic mandate." She claims political persecution, she claims bias, she claims injustice, while the evidence of bloodshed screams louder than her words. Segment 6, India's role. Well, after the uprising, Hasina fled to India, straight to New Delhi, and has remained there in exile ever since. Well, legally, there is no treaty granting automatic asylum to a foreign leader accused of crimes against humanity. So this is political protection, not legal refuge. Segment 7, the extradition treaty. Now Dhaka wants her back. They demand, return her immediately under the bilateral extradition treaty. But here's the catch. The India-Bangladesh extradition treaty excludes political offences. Her defense will argue, crimes against humanity, political. Helicopter attacks, political. Student protests, political. Well, India could legally refuse or delay or quietly relocate her to a third country. The ball is in New Delhi's court, and every move will reverberate across South Asia. Segment 8, Pakistan Defense Minister Khwaja Asif statement. Pakistan's Defense Minister Khwaja Asif said, and I quote, "Bangladesh's political accountability shows the region that no leader is above justice. India's handling of Hasina will define South Asian diplomacy. It is critical that international norms are respected and that justice is not blocked by politics." Well, his words underline the gravity. Is this just a domestic issue or a regional storm? Segment 9, Historical Context, Rulers Sentenced to Death in the Past. Before we close, let's put this into perspective. Bangladesh is not the first nation to sentence a former ruler to death. Talking about global and regional examples, General Pervez Musharraf, Pakistan, faced death sentences for political crimes, later forgiven, died naturally. Then we have Saddam Hussein from Iraq, his example, sentenced for crimes against humanity, executed in 2006. Furthermore, Hosni Mubarak from Egypt, life sentence for complicity in killing protesters, later released. The lesson? Death sentences for leaders shake nations, but execution, extradition, and justice are entangled with politics, power, and alliance. Bangladesh today stands on this razor's edge. Justice declared, but the final act is never guaranteed. And now, the conclusion. Bangladesh stands at a crossroads. A fallen prime minister, a death sentence, the Gen Z uprising that reshaped a nation, and India, the world watches its next move. Will Hasina be extradited? Will she remain protected? Or will she disappear into the shadows of politics? Do let me know your views. This is your very own Fariha Farrukh signing off. Keep watching 360 Digital English. Take care. Allah Hafiz.